The night after they received the strange message was unusually quiet. Too quiet. Even the crickets seemed to hold their breath, as though the village itself was waiting to see what would come next. Inside Obiora's compound, oil lamps flickered softly, casting long shadows on the walls that danced like spirits from another world. Chinasa lay awake, her body weak but her spirit alert. The three boys slept beside her, their tiny chests rising and falling in perfect rhythm. Each time she looked at them, her heart swelled with gratitude and fear. Joy had finally found her, but she knew Umuagu too well. Blessings that came suddenly often attracted jealous eyes. Obiora sat outside, sharpening a small cutlass he did not need to sharpen. It was not work that occupied his hands, but thought. For the first time in years, his home felt whole again. Yet deep within him stirred an unease he could not name. The gods had restored his lineage, yes, but at what cost? Not long, the news of the triplets had spread beyond Umuagu, crossing streams and footpaths into neighboring villages. People came bearing gifts, yam tubers, dried fish, palm wine, but not all smiles were born of goodwill. Some women whispered behind their wrappers. Some men nodded slowly, their eyes calculating. And far away, in her father's compound, Kambili heard the news. The message reached her like a slap. Triplets. All boys. She sat frozen as the words echoed in her ears. Her mother gasped. Her father said nothing. But inside Kambili, something dark and bitter took root. The same gods who had exposed her secret had now crowned Chinasa with abundance. Shame burned her chest, quickly turning into rage. She bore triplets, she muttered, her voice low and dangerous. That life should have been mine. Back in Umuagu, Chinasa noticed the change first. The laughter in the compound no longer felt pure. Visitors lingered too long. Some women touched the babies and muttered words she could not hear. One evening, she found a strange marking drawn in ash near her doorway, something odd, something unsettling. She said nothing at first. But when one of the babies fell ill suddenly, crying through the night with a fever that herbs could not calm, Chinasa's fear spilled over. Obiora called for the village elder before dawn. The old man arrived leaning heavily on his staff, his eyes clouded with age but sharp with knowing. He listened quietly, examined the markings, and watched the restless baby in Chinasa's arms. This is no ordinary sickness, he finally said. Where great joy enters, envy follows. Someone has not accepted what the gods have decided. Obiora's jaw tightened. His mind traveled unbidden to one face, one woman. That same night, a figure was seen near the outskirts of the village, moving quickly, wrapped in dark cloth. A child fetching water swore she heard chanting carried by the wind. By morning, the ash markings had returned, closer this time. Obiora could no longer ignore it. He stood in the center of the compound and made a declaration that silenced the air itself. No stranger would touch his children. No visitor would cross his threshold uninvited. And anyone who wished him harm would answer not just to him, but to the ancestors. Meanwhile, Chinasa knelt by her sleeping sons, tears sliding silently down her cheeks. Not tears of sorrow, but of resolve. She had endured too much to lose them now. She whispered prayers into the night, her voice steady, calling on the same patience that had carried her through years of shame. Far away, Kambili stood in front of her hut, her face hard, her hands trembling. She had hope of restoration, but now that Chinasa has given birth, there was nothing left for her. She was bitter. The fire she had carried into Obiora's house now threatened to consume her entirely. And as the moon climbed high over Umuagu, the triplets stirred in their sleep. Chinasa held her breath. Obiora tightened his grip. The dawn that broke over Umuagu carried no birdsong. A thin mist clung to the red earth, wrapping the village in an uneasy silence. Inside Obiora's compound, Chinasa woke suddenly, her heart pounding before her mind could make sense of the fear gripping her chest. Something was wrong. She turned sharply toward the map beside her, and her breath vanished. 2 of the triplets were gone. A cry tore from her throat, raw and piercing. Obiora. Obiora was on his feet in an instant. One look at Chinasa's face told him this was no dream. His eyes scanned the room again and again, counting, recounting, 2 children where 3 should have been. Then his knees weakened. The compound exploded into chaos. Chinasa's wails shattered the morning calm as Obiora raised an alarm that echoed through Umuagu. Men poured out of their huts, grabbing sticks, cutlasses, torches. Women followed, crying and calling the children's names. No one questioned. No one hesitated. Somewhere beyond the compound, hurried footsteps tore through the undergrowth. Kambili ran. Her wrapper was tied tight against her chest, each arm clutching a crying child. Beside her was her lover, the same villager whose whispers had once betrayed her secret. Fear widened his eyes as they ran toward the footpath leading out of Umuagu, desperate to disappear before the village could wake fully. They will take everything from me, Kambili hissed through tears. I will not leave empty-handed. But Umuagu had already risen. The villagers spread like wildfire, following the sound of the baby's cries. Voices shouted. Torches flared. The chase cut through bushes and narrow paths, pounding feet shaking the quiet land awake. Obiora ran at the front, breath burning his chest, rage and terror driving him beyond exhaustion. Chinasa followed despite her weakness, her strength drawn from her mother's fear. When she heard her children cry ahead, her scream split the air and gave the villagers fresh fire in their limbs. The lovers stumbled near the riverbank. Surrounded. There was nowhere left to run. Kambili collapsed to the ground, clutching the children tightly as villagers closed in. Her lover raised his hands, shaking, knowing escape was impossible. The babies cried louder now, sensing the shift from danger to safety. Chinasa pushed through the crowd and fell to her knees, gathering her sons into her arms, sobbing uncontrollably as she pressed them to her chest. Obiora stood over Kambili, his face carved from stone. This house fed you, he said quietly. It sheltered you. And still, you chose to destroy it. Kambili could not meet his eyes. Shame crushed her shoulders as villagers murmured in anger and disbelief. The truth was now naked before everyone, her envy, her bitterness, her final desperate act. There was no long argument. No mercy to beg for. The elders spoke briefly and firmly. Kambili and her lover were banished immediately, driven from Umuagu with nothing but the clothes on their bodies. They were warned never to return, their names stripped of honor, their footsteps erased from the village's protection. As they disappeared down the road, silence followed. Slowly, the tension lifted. That evening, the village gathered, not in fear, but in relief. Fires were lit. Songs of thanksgiving rose into the sky. The children were blessed openly, their names spoken with pride instead of whispers. Obiora stood beside Chinasa, holding his sons close, his heart finally steady. Chinasa's tears fell again, but this time, they were tears of release, of victory earned through endurance. Peace settled over Umuagu like a long-awaited rain. And for the first time in many seasons, the night passed without fear, only the soft cries of babies and the quiet certainty that truth, once revealed, restores what envy tries to destroy. And so, Umuagu learned a lesson etched deeper than fear or loss, that envy destroys faster than hunger, that truth always outruns deceit, and that patience, though slow, is never denied its reward. Those who endure with clean hands may bend under the storm, but they will never be broken by it. If this story moved you or taught you something, please like this video, share it with someone who needs the lesson, and subscribe to Dabi's Tales for more powerful African stories.